Hi, my name is Meeka 6, also known as the Moroccan Angel. If this is our first encounter, I would like to say welcome. And if you should find my content spiritually enlightening or informative, I would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to press the like button. So the topic that we're going to focus on today is entitled 3 Signs of a False Healer. And this is predominantly directed towards professing Christian healers. We know that Jesus supernaturally healed, and this is basically one of his marks, one of his very significant marks, because that is the main thing that Jesus did to prove that he was who he said he was. It was through supernatural healings. It was not medically assisted healings or, pray for you and then take 2 pills and call me in the morning. When he supernaturally healed, they were healed within the hour or immediately. There was no, day, 24-hour roll around or waiting a week or a year to see the manifestation of that healing. And a lot of Christians, out of lack of knowledge and lack of clarity, will say things such as maybe the person didn't have enough faith, or they didn't have enough faith, they themselves didn't have enough faith. This is all unscriptural, because when you say that the person didn't have enough faith, that's a misunderstanding of what's actually going on. Just for what it is, when we look at the maiden, the one who died, she did not have any faith because she was dead. And when we look at the widow's son in the Second Testament, the New Testament book of the Christian book, he was dead. The widow's son was dead. He didn't have any faith, so it wasn't contingent on his faith. And I think what a number of Christians misunderstand is that they're not actually the ones performing the miracles. A true biblical Christian is possessed by the actual Spirit of Jesus, and it's his Spirit within the true professing Christian that manifests itself through this genuine biblical Christian, and that's how these miracles are performed. So when you are walking around professing to be a Christian and you have no supernatural power, you're displaying openly to the discerning eye that you actually don't have a spirit. Now, a lot of Christians will reject this because they actually don't have a spirit. Denial. When you want to believe something so bad, but it clashes with the reality of what is, you deny it. You try to make an excuse as to why that's not connecting. And that's not a good position to be in. Humility. But we're going to look at these 3 signs of false healers in the Christian faith. And it could be, Christians who just walk around praying for people, or it could be these big time healers that are walking around or used to walk around, like Reinhard Bonnke. You have this guy saying that Jesus is a healer and he wears glasses. It's like reality. Jesus made a statement about the blind leading the blind. they'll both fall into a ditch. You can't have someone who's blind saying, I can set you free by the supernatural power of Jesus, and they're blind. The supernatural power isn't even working in their life, so how are they going to transfer that over to you when it's not even apparent in their own lives? So that's why it's a problem if he's wearing glasses because he can't see well, and then he's telling you, making the promise to you that, hey, I can help you see better, but I got something in my eye. No, it doesn't work like that. Not biblically. So, one of the first things that exposes or kind of gives you a clue into or a sign of a false healer in the Christian faith is there will be an intense moving of the emotions, because in this state deception becomes easy. The human who is desperately seeking something, and the emotions are moved in such a way intensely, humans tend to compromise the facts over what they feel and what they I've seen, especially these well-known healers, behind the scenes pay people to come up and profess to be healed or profess to have some, debilitating disease, and all of a sudden, oh, I'm healed. Yeah. So there's the intense moving of the emotions. You'll see things like street preachers walk up to someone who is all of a sudden, it's interesting how they always find these individuals, just these particular individuals, the ones who have the uneven legs or something like that, and then they'll come up and they'll say, I can straighten up your legs, and then it's like, oh wow, somebody will come up saying, oh, I've had backaches for years, and he prayed for my back, and I'm better. I have yet to see the one Christian, the one professing Christian, who can heal someone who has been stricken with Down syndrome, who has been stricken with, so many genetic diseases and, mental genetic things that it's heartbreaking. You have never seen, and I challenge any Christian, professing Christian, to let me see it. Benny Hinn, the healings, and I thought it was really amazing. But the one thing that became clearer and clearer is that you've never seen someone who had a terminal illness healed, who was an amputee or with a missing limb or something very serious like a genetic disorder, someone that you can see physically. It's always something that you can't see. But when it comes to the things that you can physically see, they can't touch that. They can't do that. Now, why is that? Why is that? The second thing is they are caught or exposed in sin. And this is one that is often overlooked, and the reason it's overlooked by the congregation is because most of the congregation is sinning too. So there is a level of connection and compromise, and that's a big problem. That's a really big problem, especially when you shine the light of the scriptures upon that. And I'm going to read something. Where you have these pastors, Christian leaders, who are leading these big congregations, and next minute they're caught committing adultery, or caught in a homosexual relationship, or just wickedness. Read something. In 2 Peter 2:19 it says, I'll start with verse 18. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness. Those that were clean escape from them who live in error or sin, while they promise them liberty. They themselves are the servants of corruption. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought in bondage. Remember something. Jesus said in the book of John that he who commits sin is a slave to sin. Poieho hamartia. That means who commit a sin, a single act of disobedience. It's not a perpetual thing. It's not he who makes a habit out of it. That's devil talk. That's no. The person who thought that up, who said, he meant habitual sin. I can promise you they were a sin. They wanted to make some leeway and allowance for their committing sin, because the original text does not say habitual sin. The original text says a sin, one. The act is not the root. The act of sin is not the root. The act is the manifestation of what has already taken place or taken root within the heart. The damage was already done. It's just a manifestation of what was already there, the fruit of the tree. So this is one of the main things that a false Christian will say. We're all sinners. And they say that because not only are they sinning, but they've never experienced that freedom. They got it wrong. They think they're a Christian. They're professing to be a Christian, but they're deceived. They don't have the knowledge or the clarity to see that. Speaking boldly to other Christians, they all say, hey, they'll say, no, it's not okay to sin, but we all sin. No, we don't. We don't all sin. They don't even understand what sin is. The transgression of the law, which is in 1 John. And that law is the commandments and statutes established by the God of Israel in the original Testament. And no, everybody does not break that. And see, the thing of it with the Christian is, Jesus said that he came to set them free from sin. That means to break it. So why are they still in bondage to sin? And I'll tell you why. Because they're not free. They don't have a spirit. The whole thing of being set free from sin is to become a slave to Christ. You can't be a slave to sin and a slave to Christ at the same time. When you see a pastor or a leader of the Christian faith who was caught in a sin, you're being shown that's an act of mercy to you. You're being shown that this individual is false. He's actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. And you shouldn't even be following a female pastor. That's like in your face, blatant rebellion against Christ. I don't care how good they sound. And chances are they're moving your emotions where you're like, wow, this girl, she can really speak. She really has the anointing. No, she doesn't. Because Jesus himself said that women are to remain silent in the church. And don't get me mixed up, because I'm not a Christian woman. They're exposed in sin. And this is an act of mercy, because you're being shown that this person is claiming to be something that they're not. A hypocrite. Because you have an individual who's saying, I'm a Christian, I love Jesus. Two things. A Christian is one, by the basic definition of the word, is one who follows steadfastly. That means they don't stray. They follow steadfastly the keeping and teachings and commandments of Jesus. It's hypocrisy. How are you following him in the act of sin? You could just tell me that one thing. How are you following him? How are you being faithful to him? Well, in the actual act of sin, you're not. Oh, Jesus understands, right? The second thing is, when you say you love Jesus, it's not based on your definition of love. It's based on what he deemed was love. And in the scriptures, what does Jesus deem as love? Obedience. And he says, have a perfect love towards him. Perfect obedience. Be perfect. Be ye perfect. And you say, oh, we can't do that. You're crazy. No, you're crazy. You're the one claiming this religion. You're the one saying you're a Christian, that you steadfastly follow Jesus, and you don't. A crazy hypocrite. Because that's not what you're doing, and you're living a lie. I'm not living a lie. I'm true to my word. When I make a promise, I keep it. That's the way it should be. And if you're going to make a promise to be loyal to Jesus with the sinner's prayer, then the third sign of a false healer is limited healing abilities, where you see someone deformed or amputated, or, they can't do that. Jesus, within the New Testament scriptures, it states that Jesus gave his disciples power over all the power of the enemy. He gave them power to heal the sick, all manner of sickness and disease. And he sent them out to do this. This is my will, he says. This is my will. Go out and do this. And the reason it was his will is because he stated that this was the will of the Father for him. So he was sending his disciples out to do the same. And the scriptures say, those who truly have a spirit will walk as he walked. They'll do what he did. So when you have someone who says, I have the Spirit of Christ, and their loved ones just died from COVID, and they can't restore life to their body, it's a wake-up call. It's a reality check that what you're claiming and what you think you believe is not true. In the book of John, Jesus himself said that those who are his true disciples will do what he did and greater. And you're still struggling with a cold or how to stop sinning. That's not scriptural. Not for a biblical Christian. That's not scriptural. You have people like, Oral Roberts, Benny Hinn, Raynard Bunke. I don't know too many others who actually get out there and, masquerade these grand healings, and yet no one was raised from the dead or no amputee. Jesus restored limbs Like, this is in the scriptures. You tell me where, anywhere, a Christian restored a lost limb. I'm still waiting for someone who is a true professing Christian that actually restored life to a dead body in the grave. There's plenty around. But they'll say, oh, my faith isn't, or that power wasn't given to everybody. How so? That power is the actual Spirit of Jesus, which possess every true Christian. And they confuse signs with gifts. So these are the 3 signs that it's a false healer. An intense moving of the emotions, caught or exposed in sin, and limited healing abilities. And all 3 of these reveals that they do not actually have the Spirit of Christ, that it is not a true biblical Christian. That's because Jesus is the one who is performing the miracles. It's not by the power of the person. It's the Spirit in the person that's doing these miracles. And it's supposed to be the Spirit of Jesus performing supernatural healings, not chemotherapy healings, not, Sudafed healings or Xanax healings. Everything's cool because I'm taking my pills, or not weed healings, weed calmness or peace. We're talking about supernatural stuff with Jesus. The scriptures were very clear, plain, and simple. Those who truly have the Spirit of Jesus will do what he did. If you want to see what he did, it's written in the scriptures. He raised the dead. He walked sinless. There was no limit. He healed all who were sick, all who were diseased, mentally tormented, genetic deformities, amputees. He healed them all, the scriptures say. So the next time you see these things, take it to heart. Take it to heart. Because it's a warning sign. I'm the Moroccan angel. And remember, always do what is right. It matters.